video 2 of our 5-video mini-series regarding 20 tips for bar exam time management. So in this video, we're going to give you 5 tips for time management as it relates to memorization. So first things first, remember how important memorization is. The bar exam is a closed book exam after all. So if you find yourself jumping from lecture to practice and you can't quite figure out why your bar exam score is not climbing, it's likely because you're skipping this step. So memorization is key, and if you're doing it right, it's incredibly time consuming. So listen for these 5 tips to improve your time management at this very important step of the bar prep process. So our first tip for you here is you should try to memorize your outlines within 24 hours of listening to a lecture. So what we mean is that ideally you would listen to your lecture or go to lecture and then probably take a break, and then you would start your active review process. You would work on memorizing whatever you just covered at that lecture, get a good night's sleep, and then re-review actively that portion of the outline that you just memorized the day before. Getting a good night's sleep in between your memorization process does wonders for your brain. And honestly, it can speed you up rather than putting off memorization of your outlines or a particular subject for the end of the week or a later date in the future. Getting it done and making sure you're getting a good night's sleep really helps speed up this process and cement that memory. So the idea is when you go to lecture, try to memorize within 24 hours of that lecture. And we promise it will stick better and therefore save you time. Our second tip is you should figure out your learning style. Something that people tell me a lot is they get frustrated because they started out their bar prep process trying to flashcard or rewriting their outline or making a chart, and they just found it wasn't working for them. And that just indicates to me they were trying to use a learning style that doesn't suit them best. So instead of getting frustrated and maybe wasting some time in an effort to memorize the law in a way that doesn't work best for you, maybe take a little time to figure out what your bar exam learning style is, or just what is your learning style, and then apply it to the bar exam. For instance, are you auditory? Are you more visual? Knowing these things can help you utilize the best methods for memorization for your learning type. And though it might take you a few minutes to figure out what your learning style is, I promise it will be a good use of your time because it will save you from trying to utilize and implement methods that might not work best for you. Our next tip here to help save you time in the Department of Memorization is to focus on those highly tested subjects and prioritize those highly tested issues within each subject. So please be very sure you're hearing me here. I'm not telling you to ignore any particular subject or issue in preparation for the bar. We do not think that is a good approach. But what I do think you should do is prioritize. And you should be prioritizing those highly tested subjects. And don't stop there. Be sure to prioritize those highly tested issues within each subject. Remember, the goal in your bar prep process is you don't have to know everything about all of the subjects they could test. The goal is to pass the bar. So how do you do that? You maximize your chances of success by being aware and very familiar with those highly tested subjects and issues within each subject. Again, not ignoring anything, but making sure you know what's likely to come up. So you may be wondering, well, how do I focus on those highly tested subjects and issues within each subject? How do I even know what those are? And we have lots of resources for you to answer that question. For instance, we have a free guide regarding MEE topics. So again, that's free. We have MEE one-sheets that are available for purchase. We have a guide on the MBE that's free. So again, that can help you prepare for the highly tested subjects and topics within that for the multiple choice portion. And we even have MBE one-sheets that are available for purchase. So if you're interested in any of those things, be sure to check out our website. Our next tip here for saving you time as it relates to memorization is stay away from time-consuming memorization techniques. So I feel like the 2 traps I have to address here that I really hear people unfortunately fall into time and time again is they try to rewrite their outline or they type it word for word in an effort to memorize. And unfortunately, I feel like you miss the point if that's what you're trying to do. Rewriting as a memorization approach is excellent. But what you're trying to do is you're rewriting rules in an effort to memorize them, which means you're likely rewriting a rule over and over and over again until you can write it down from memory without looking at your outline. That's very different than passively sitting in front of a computer and just reading your outline while you type it. That's not doing anything to help you memorize. To me, that's trying to make an extra work product. And you don't need extra work products. You already have outlines. Additionally, don't try to flashcard every rule for every subject as it relates to the bar. It's super time consuming and it's not effective. Instead, we recommend you utilize a different memorization or active review approach. And then once you realize that maybe there are certain types of rules or certain rules generally that you can't seem to memorize or that you keep consistently falling short on, those are the rules you should dedicate to a flashcard. That way, you have a very small stack of flashcards. Now they become effective. You can review those frequently rather than trying to flashcard every rule for every subject. And then our final tip here for time management is stick to one outline per subject. We know that many commercial bar exam courses give you multiple sets of outlines for every single testable subject. They give you like a mini outline, a long outline, a lecture handout. And unfortunately, they don't give you a lot of guidance about how to use each of those resources. And you do not need to memorize 3 different outlines that generally say the same thing 3 different ways. That's confusing and frustrating and honestly a waste of time. So instead, stick to one outline and just use that one outline that you memorize. Usually, most people find that the lecture handout is ideal. It's not too short, but it's not too long. And they can utilize it during the lecture, which some people find helpful. So those are our time management tips as it relates to memorization. Stay tuned for the next videos to get the rest of our time management tips.